Most of us walk through our days assuming we are the ones uh, in the driver's seat of our own lives.
Right. Yeah. We all like to think that.
Yeah, we think, like, if I just steer carefully or if I make the right choices, I'll get to exactly where I want to go. It's a very comforting idea, right? This illusion of total control.
Oh, absolutely. It's completely foundational to how we operate.
But imagine for a second that you're driving that car and suddenly you realize the road itself is tilting.
Oh, wow.
Like the wind is subtly nudging your steering wheel, and the engine was actually built by your great-grandfather using, a blueprint you've never even seen.
That is a terrifying thought.
Right, and the entire highway is operating on this mathematical code that you can't even perceive. Suddenly you aren't really driving at all, are you?
No, not at all. You're just reacting to a massive web of invisible forces.
Exactly. And that terrifying loss of control is exactly what we are exploring with you today. We are looking at a fascinating, highly specific 2020 essay by an author named Zhu Feng.
Yeah, it was translated by Kiyu and edited by Care.
Right, and it's titled Eight Invisible External Factors Influencing Our Lives.
And I have to say, it completely reframes the whole concept of autonomy.
It really does.
I mean, this essay builds a comprehensive, intricate philosophy of life that attempts to explain the hidden forces dictating literally everything.
Everything from, like, whether you catch a cold to the ultimate destiny of your family line.
Exactly. And our mission today is to look at this material objectively. We want to map out how the author seamlessly blends tangible environmental science with these really profound metaphysical concepts.
Yeah, it's a wild mix.
It is. But it's important to note right up front that this isn't just theoretical musing. Shuifeng is writing from the perspective of a specific spiritual community, often referring to a path called Lifechanyuan.
Lifechanyuan, got it.
Right. So we are looking at what is essentially an operational manual for a very specific worldview.
Okay, let's unpack this,
Right.
because the text gets incredibly granular right out of the gate.
Doesn't waste any time.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't start with abstract spirits or anything. It starts with the literal dirt under your feet. The first invisible factor on Shifeng's list is feng shui. But, and this is crucial, we have to throw out the modern westernized idea of this.
Oh, for sure. Popular culture has definitely reduced feng shui to, like, interior design.
Right, like where to put a plant.
Yeah. People think it's about putting a mirror in the right corner of your living room to make the space feel balanced. But this text returns to the literal translation of wind and water.
It's much bigger than a living room.
Way bigger. It defines feng shui as a deeply physical, geographic, and atmospheric reality. It's essentially an aggressive environmental determinism.
Yeah, the author describes feng shui as the veins flowing underground, the airflow, the ambient light. It goes all the way down to the localized geomagnetic field.
Which is incredibly specific.
Right. And the chemical elements in the water, specifically whether it's alkaline or acidic, it's basically an ongoing geological and chemical audit of the exact coordinates where you sleep.
And the author posits that this physical reality is the absolute root cause of our physiological state. Like, the essay explicitly claims that most chronic diseases are caused by bad feng shui.
Yeah, that part really stood out to me because it's so literal.
Very literal.
The claim is that if someone with arthritis who, lives in a humid area simply relocates to a place with drier humidity for 3 to 5 years, their arthritis will completely heal.
Right. The environment itself is the medicine.
Or the poison. And the text takes this a step further, presenting a systemic architectural solution that's actually practiced by members of this community.
Yeah, the author introduces the practices of what they call Lifechanyuan celestials. These are followers of this specific path.
Okay.
And to avoid the long-term accumulation of unfavorable physical factors like bad geomagnetism or the wrong water acidity, the text insists that one must change their living space frequently. You cannot stay stagnant.
Specifically, moving every 3 years.
Every 3 years, yeah.
The author mentions their hometown in something called the 1,000-year world, where people apparently never get sick. And it's largely because they are constantly changing their environments.
Oh, they keep moving.
The rule for these celestials is to rotate homes among 256 locations on Earth, which are called New Oasis for Life.
A huge network.
It is. I read that and immediately thought of, like, crop rotation, but for human health.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
You just don't stay in one spot long enough for the soil of your environment to deplete your body. But I do have to push back a little on the author's logic here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Is a strict 3-year relocation rule truly about escaping bad geomagnetic fields? Or is it more about just, a psychological reset?
I see what you mean.
Because the novelty of a new environment does wonders for the human brain, which we know objectively lowers stress and boosts the immune system.
What's fascinating here is how the author totally bypasses that modern psychological view. Yeah. I mean, from a psychological standpoint, sure, novelty absolutely disrupts stagnant mental loops.
Right.
But we cannot project modern psychological coping mechanisms onto this text.
Right, we have to look at it through their lens.
Exactly. Within the author's worldview, the mechanism is entirely physical and literal. You are physically outrunning the accumulation of environmental toxicity in the Earth's crust. And this intense physical focus continues straight into the next factor, which is solar radiation.
Right, the sun. The text explains that human skin color is a direct result of our ancestors' proximity to the equator or the poles, driven by ultraviolet radiation.
Which is basic biology.
Sure, we all know that. But the author frames UV exposure as a geographic variable we actively need to manage for vitamin D production.
Right.
Too much or too little is damaging, so the text suggests we should literally change our latitude to find the exact right balance for our specific ancestral makeup.
It establishes a foundational premise that we carry through the rest of the text. And that premise is, your body is entirely porous.
Porous.
Yes. You are not a closed system. You are completely permeable to the humidity, the magnetic fields, and the sun's rays. And if we accept this premise, that our physical bodies are entirely shaped by the physical climate.
Then we have to conclude our minds are shaped by the social climate.
Exactly. Which means we are moving from the physical Earth to the social atmosphere.
Factor number 3 is the socio-ecological environment. This includes the culture, beliefs, conventions, and just the overall values of the people around you.
And the author issues a very poetic, yet terrifying warning here.
Oh, the fragrance thing.
Yes. The text states that if you are enclosed in a bad socio-ecological environment for a long time, you will become incapable of distinguishing fragrance from stench.
Which is such a vivid image.
It really is. It basically says you will lose your baseline for reality.
Yeah, you won't even know that there are mountains beyond mountains and skies above skies. It's sensory adaptation, but for morality and truth.
Perfect analogy.
It's like living in a room with a terrible smell. Eventually, your brain just stops registering it. But the smell is still there, soaking into your clothes and your lungs.
And that concept leads right into a much more aggressive social factor. Other people's grievances and curses.
Okay, this one was intense.
This is where the psychological weight of a community takes on a literal destructive power. In modern terms, we might say a toxic workplace makes you feel burnt out.
Right.
But in Zhufeng's framework, grievances are an active, corrosive energy field.
Yeah, I kept thinking of it as passive smoking.
Oh, exactly.
If you live among people who are full of grievances, you absorb those toxic, invisible fumes, even if you aren't the one complaining. The essay says that being around these grievances will literally drain your fighting spirit, your courage, and your confidence.
And it claims this exposure directly causes depression, sickness, and nightmares.
The nightmares detail is so creepy.
The inclusion of nightmares is a crucial detail, though, because it bridges the gap between the conscious environment and your subconscious vulnerability.
I see.
The negativity of your neighbors permeates your mind even when you are asleep and completely defenseless.
Wow.
But as damaging as passive grievances are, the text reserves its absolute strongest warning for active malice, which it labels as curses.
Right, curses. Now, if you are listening to this, you might be, rolling your eyes at the idea of a medieval curse.
It sounds like a fantasy novel.
It does. But the text describes curses as invisible thought powers and a silent harm from their hearts. It treats thought power as a measurable projectile.
A projectile, yes.
It's an active deployment of negative energy aimed directly at your life.
And the text doesn't stop at mere bad vibes either. It details physical manifestations of this sabotage. The essay describes acts like secretly cutting a ground vein or manipulating an ancestor's grave.
Wait, cutting a ground vein?
Yes. Let's look at the mechanics of that.
Huh?
If Feng Shui relies on the uninterrupted flow of underground energy, those things we discussed earlier, then a curse can involve someone intentionally severing that flow to your property.
Oh my God.
It's akin to someone quietly cutting the brake lines on your car.
It's literally geomantic sabotage.
Exactly.
And the consequences are catastrophic. The text claims these curses lead to sudden disasters, the decline of entire families, and get this, even the extinction of nations.
It's a massive escalation.
The extinction of a nation caused by the invisible thought power of a curse, or the manipulation of an ancestor's grave. The scale of that vulnerability is just staggering to me.
It highlights a worldview defined by profound exposure. I mean, the boundaries of your personal safety are practically non-existent. You are constantly at the mercy of the emotional states and hidden actions of your neighbors and enemies.
Okay, so if our bodies are porous to the physical environment and our minds are porous to the social environment,
The text says we also have to look at the forces from those who aren't even here anymore.
right, we transition from the tangible world of the living into metaphysical inheritance.
Which brings us to ancestral virtue and sin karma.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The text claims that the karma created by your ancestors directly dictates whether your life flourishes or withers today.
It's a direct link.
Yeah, I view it like inheriting a cosmic credit score.
A cosmic credit score. That's right.
Brilliant. You didn't open the account, you didn't max out the cards, but you are the one getting calls from the universe's debt collectors.
Exactly.
If your life is constantly full of ups and downs, the author says you have to look backward. You must figure out if your ancestors created virtuous karma or sinful karma, because that energy flows directly down the bloodline.
And the text is highly pragmatic about this. It states that once you learn whether you've inherited virtue or sin, you must actively find a way to remedy it.
You can't just ignore it.
No, otherwise the trajectory of your life simply will not change. You are bound by the actions of ghosts. It removes the idea of a clean slate at birth. You are born mid-story, carrying the weight of previous chapters.
And that feeds right into the concept of destiny trajectories.
Right.
The essay describes this as an invisible manipulating force created by the merits and demerits of people's previous lives.
It really addresses the ultimate human question, doesn't it? Like, why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah, why am I so unlucky?
Or why do I keep meeting noble people? Or, conversely, completely unreasonable people? The text answer is that these are not random encounters. They are established arrangements along your destiny's trajectory.
The author specifically mentions 18 unmanageable factors of life, 18 variables that are pre-programmed into your trajectory before you even take a breath.
18? That's a lot of unmanageable variables.
It is. The text says you cannot manage them, but you can change your overall trajectory through self-cultivation and self-refinement. Like, you have to actively work to resolve the karma.
But you aren't just dealing with the ghosts of your ancestors or the luggage of your past lives. You're also sharing space with non-human spirits right now.
Right, which brings us to the factor of gods and deities. The essay operates on an extreme animistic premise.
Absolutely everything has spirituality.
Everything. It lists heaven gods, mountain gods, water gods, earth gods, and it treats interacting with them as a literal requirement for survival.
Yes.
It reads like a spiritual safety manual for the outdoors. It says, if you want to climb a mountain, you don't just check your carabiners and ropes. You have to pray to the mountain god for protection so you don't fall.
Because if you fall, it's not a mechanical failure, it's spiritual.
Exactly. If you cross a river, you pray to the river god. It even says you need to soothe and comfort the trees, flowers, insects, birds, and beasts where you live to avoid misfortune.
Think about the mechanism of friction in this worldview. If a mountain has a presiding consciousness, stepping onto it without asking permission is an act of trespass.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right, you are creating spiritual friction, which then manifests as a physical fall. What we are looking at here is a philosophy of extreme, unavoidable interconnectedness.
Yeah.
You, as the listener, are not a solitary individual in an empty room. You are a node in a massive web.
Huh.
You are tethered to the underground water veins, the sun, your resentful coworkers, your long-dead great-grandfather, your past lives, and the literal spirit of the tree in your front yard.
It's dizzying.
Very.
When you stack all these invisible factors on top of each other, the geology, the curses, the karma, the mountain gods, it feels like there is absolutely no empty space in the universe. Every single inch of reality is filled with something pushing or pulling on you.
But then the author introduces the structural foundation underneath all of this.
The universal code.
Exactly. The universal code that governs the physical, the social, and the spiritual layers. And that is factor number 8, mathematics.
Mathematics.
The text refers to it as the principle of numbers. It argues that symmetry and proportion are not just aesthetic preferences or human inventions. They are the fundamental load-bearing rules of existence.
Wow.
The golden section, or the golden ratio, is cited as the absolute peak of beauty and function, caused by perfect symmetry.
And the text equates this mathematical perfection directly to health and longevity. Like, the more symmetrical a life is, the healthier it is.
It's a direct correlation.
The essay warns that once the math falls out of balance, a life will quickly decay and die, and you become highly vulnerable to the destructive elements of nature.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the author isn't talking about abstract equations on a university chalkboard.
Yeah.
They are applying this mathematical rigor to the most mundane, domestic details of daily existence.
And that is the part I struggled to wrap my head around.
Really? How so?
Well, the text says that math strictly dictates how high your house should be, how big the doors and windows are, and the exact distance to your neighbor's house.
Okay, architecture, that makes sense.
Architecture, fine, but then it goes into your kitchen drawers and your closets.
Oh, right.
It says math dictates exactly how many sets of clothes and shoes you should store. It dictates the exact date you should go on a trip. It even dictates exactly how many plates, forks, and chopsticks a family should own to ensure things go well.
That is extremely specific.
Isn't it? The logic is that if the math in all these micro areas is suitable, the macro trajectory of your life will go smoothly.
But if the math is wrong...
Right. If you have the wrong number of forks for the golden ratio of your household, the invisible forces will align against your will.
And that's where you get into trouble.
I'm going to push back hard on this because, honestly, it feels like a massive contradiction within the author's own framework.
How do you mean?
Earlier, the text warned us about the devastating, life-shortening impact of stress and grievances.
Yes, the socio-ecological factor.
Exactly. It told us to find comfortable environments and avoid anxiety. Doesn't micromanaging the exact mathematical number of forks and chopsticks in your kitchen drawer induce the exact kind of high-level stress we are supposed to be avoiding?
That is a very fair point.
Imagine the anxiety of accidentally breaking a plate and suddenly believing your entire life has fallen out of universal symmetry. That sounds exhausting.
From a modern practical standpoint, that level of micromanagement sounds like a recipe for a nervous breakdown.
Completely.
But we have to look at the psychological utility of this belief system. It speaks to a deep, desperate human desire for ultimate order in a chaotic universe.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
By calculating the exact number of shoes or chopsticks, you aren't just doing arithmetic. You are aligning your domestic life with the harmony of the cosmos.
It's a coping mechanism.
Exactly. When the universe feels like a terrifying storm of curses, karma, and angry river gods, counting your forks is a way of reclaiming a tiny piece of control. It transforms mundane chores into acts of cosmic alignment.
Oh, it's like trying to find a secret cheat code to reality.
The cheat codes. Yeah.
But if the universe is a mathematical program that is constantly trying to delete you with bad feng shui and inherited sin, then organizing your closet perfectly is like debugging the software of your own life.
That is a perfect way to frame it. And the author fully acknowledges the sheer crushing weight of all these interconnected systems. In the conclusion of the essay, Guifeng reveals a staggering final detail that puts the whole text into perspective.
Oh yes, the grand conclusion. We've just spent all this time unpacking 8 invisible factors, but the author drops a bombshell at the very end. There aren't just 8.
No, there are not.
There are actually 64 of these invisible factors affecting people.
64. And the text notes that the permutations and combinations of these 64 factors result in astronomical figures.
Astronomical figures.
It is an unfathomably complex matrix of causality.
Yeah, and the essay openly admits that for a normal person, it is mathematically impossible to balance all of this. It's hard to attend to one thing without neglecting another.
You're always going to miss something.
Right. Like you fix your feng shui by moving to a dry climate, but your chopstick math is off.
Yeah.
You fix your math, but an ancestor's sin karma trips you up. Because managing these astronomical figures is impossible for a regular person, the text concludes that the simplest, only effective method available is to follow the way of the greatest creator and the specific path of Lifechanyuan.
It presents a unified solution to an otherwise unsolvable equation. The author builds a labyrinth so terrifying and complex that the reader realizes they cannot navigate it alone. Surrendering to this specific spiritual path is offered as the ultimate shortcut to bypass the overwhelming complexity of these invisible forces.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Good question.
Obviously, we are presenting this as a highly specific worldview. You probably aren't going to run home and calculate the golden ratio of your shoe closet.
Probably not.
And you might not start praying to the river god on your daily commute. But taking a step back, this text is a fascinating lens into how humans try to make sense of the invisible influences in life.
It represents a massive anthropological effort to categorize the unknown. When we feel stuck or unlucky, it is a deeply human instinct to look for the hidden levers, whether we call it systemic bias, generational trauma, or in this case, ancestral sin karma and feng shui.
Think about the core concepts, stripped of the literalism. Is your geographic space physically draining you?
Yeah.
Are you passively absorbing the toxic grievances of the people around you, letting it sap your ambition? Are you carrying generational habits regarding money or stress or relationships that don't belong to you?
We are all undeniably shaped by unseen climates.
Yes, exactly.
Texts like this, whether you view them as profound spiritual wisdom or fringe dogma, highlight our enduring need to name those unseen climates.
Absolutely.
This raises an important question, one that brings us right back to the tilted road we started on.
Okay.
If our daily realities, our health, our moods, and our luck are constantly being shaped by astronomical permutations of external factors, from our ancestors' choices decades ago to the humidity in the air today,
Yeah.
does true free will actually exist? Or is our precious sense of independent choice just a comfortable illusion, a story we tell ourselves while we are quietly steered by the collision of invisible forces in the background?
That really makes you look differently at the steering wheel in your hands. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. Keep questioning the invisible forces around you, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.